At my late husband's memorial banquet, his sister grabbed the microphone and announced, "Marcus drained our family trust, and as restitution, he signed over his entire $1.2 million life insurance policy to me." She even waived the notarized transfer document. I just nodded and struggled to suppress a grin. I am Elena, 36, and becoming a widow was never in my plans. 4 months ago, my husband of 9 years, Marcus, passed away from undiagnosed heart failure. Weeks after we laid him to rest, I attended a charity banquet in Seattle honoring the community center he funded. The ballroom was filled with his colleagues. I was at the head table holding back tears during the keynote when my sister-in-law, Chloe, marched onto the stage, bypassed the podium, snatched the microphone, and demanded the room's attention. "I can't let you worship a lie," she declared, her voice echoing. Marcus wasn't a saint. He was secretly bleeding our family's logistics company dry to pay off offshore debts. But before his heart gave out, he tried to make it right. He legally transferred his life insurance policy to me to save the business. A suffocating silence fell. My sister-in-law was publicly destroying my dead husband's reputation in front of 300 people. She produced a glossy document from her clutch. "He signed this beneficiary transfer 10 days before he passed," she proclaimed. Every gaze shifted to me. I could feel the collective shock. But instead of breaking down, I felt a strange relief. A genuine smile crept onto my face. "Oh, I see," I said, walking toward the stage. "May I look at that transfer?" She thrust it toward me, eyes gleaming with triumph. The digital stamp and notary seal looked official, but I knew something Chloe didn't. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention," I said into the microphone. "I think we're done here for tonight." I walked out of the ballroom, finally letting out the laugh I'd been holding in. Chloe had no idea she'd just walked straight into a trap Marcus set months ago. My husband wasn't a gambler. He was a compliance auditor. Nearly a year before his heart failed, he'd been quietly investigating his own family's logistics company. He discovered Chloe was running a ghost employee scam, funneling nearly $1.4 million into a shell corporation to fund her failing luxury real estate developments in Portland. Marcus knew his health was declining, and how ruthless his sister could be. "When I'm gone, she's going to panic," he told me one night. "She'll try to grab my assets to cover her tracks before the ears audits the firm." To protect me, Marcus hadn't just secured our assets in a blind trust. He compiled a dossier of Chloe's embezzlement, sealed it in a bank vault, and instructed me to wait for her to make a fraudulent move. The next morning, I drove to my attorney's office with Marcus's vault key. We pulled the SEC whistleblower file Marcus had prepared, along with his estate planning documents. Then my lawyer subpoenaed the metadata for the digital transfer Chloe waved around at the banquet. The results were incriminating. Chloe's development firm was underwater, facing foreclosure by October 15th. Worse, the metadata proved the digital signature on the life insurance transfer had been executed from Chloe's own IP address in Portland, 48 hours after Marcus was pronounced dead in a Seattle hospital. Armed with proof, I invited Chloe to a mediation session at my lawyer's office. She strutted in wearing a pristine white suit, ready to collect her check. When I slid the IP logs and the ghost employee audit across the table, her smug expression shattered. "These are manipulated," she stammered. "They aren't," my lawyer replied coldly. "The state insurance fraud investigator is already reviewing them. Forging a life insurance transfer post-mortem carries a severe federal penalty." "Chloe," I laid out Marcus's files, offshore routing numbers, fake payroll sheets, and her panicked emails begging her accountant for cash to avoid federal prison. She collapsed into the chair, sobbing, "I'm going to lose my house. The bank is seizing my entire portfolio. I just needed the insurance money to balance the ledgers." "You don't need it, Elena. So your solution was to stand in front of the people who loved him and brand him a thief?" I asked quietly. 2 weeks later, the FBI raided the logistics company. Chloe was indicted on multiple counts of wire fraud. During her arraignment, she threw a fit, screaming she was the victim of a vindictive sister-in-law. A local reporter caught the meltdown, and it dominated regional broadcasts for a week. I used a portion of Marcus's actual life insurance to fully endow the community center he loved, naming the new wing after him. Chloe sits in a federal holding facility now. She thought she could rewrite my husband's legacy to save her own skin, but she forgot the most basic rule of accounting. The truth is always in the ledger, and Marcus made sure every cent was perfectly balanced before he left.